Anyway, doble kayod po ang economic managers ng Pangulo para tiyaking hindi papasanin ng mga Pilipino ang epekto ng pandemya. At isa po sa talaga naghahanap ng paraan para maging sapat ang kaba ng bayan ay sina Finance Secretary Dominguez at NEDA Secretary Karl Chua na ngayon ay kasama na ni Angelique sa Batasang Pambansa. Angelique?
Okay, at maraming salamat kay Erwin at of course kay Yusek Rafi mula po sa studio. Narito tayo ngayon sa isa pa ring bahagi ng Batasang Pambansa para makapanayam naman po ang ilang miyembro ng gabinete ni Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. At pagkatapos nga po nating marinig ang kanya pong huling SONA kanina at narinig din natin kung paano umangat at paano rin po tayo tinamaan ng pandemya. Tanungin din natin ngayon sa ating mga panauhin. Unahin po muna natin pakilala kung sino-sino po sila. Kapiling ho natin ngayong gabi si Finance Secretary Karl Dominguez. Magandang gabi po, Secretary.
Good evening.
And also with us tonight is the NEDA General, Director General, of NEDA, Secretary Karl Kendrick Chua. Hello, Secretary
gabi po.
Karl. Ayan. Okay, so simulan po natin. What would you think would be the three greatest achievements of the administration of President Duterte when it comes to the economy of our country po?
When you look at the administration of President Duterte, you cannot limit it to the economy. What you have to look at is, since the beginning, I think he wanted to achieve three goals. Number one is reduction in poverty. Number two is to make the Filipinos more law-abiding. And number three, peace. So when you look at the reducing poverty, we had a target. We had a 10-point economic program, and the target was to reduce poverty from 23.5%. And we were targeting to reduce it to 14% in 2022. So we have a target and we had a strategy. Ang strategy namin yung 10-point economic program. And the 10-point economic program said we have to do a build program. Because build creates a lot of jobs, puts money in the economy. But to do that, you also have to have a tax reform. If you have no tax reform, you have no money, right? So this is what the president did. He said, okay, let's reduce poverty. And actually, by 2019, or 2018, our poverty rate has already gone down to 16.5%. So we were on the way. Huh? We were on target, okay, until we were disrupted by the COVID. The second goal of the president was to make the Filipinos more law-abiding. Yes. And what was that? Number one was drugs and corruption. And number two was tax evasion. Okay, so we went after drugs, we went after corruption, and we also went after tax evaders. In fact, under his administration, we were able to collect the largest tax collection from a single company, and that was $600 million or 30 billion pesos.
Wow.
And we did that in the cigarette business. So that was achieved. And the third goal he had was peace. Okay, what peace are we talking about? He wanted peace within our borders. So peace within our borders means two things, okay? Number one, peace with the separatist Islamic movement.
Yes.
And he was able to achieve that by getting the BARM law.
Yes.
And then peace with the insurrectionists, what he calls the communists. And we have tried to make peace with them, but they don't want.
Right.
And finally, we also want peace with our neighbors. Peace with Japan, peace with Taiwan, peace with China, you know. And he has also achieved that. We have no conflict. We have arguments with them, but we have no conflict. So if you look at the presidency of President Duterte, I think as a whole, he has been quite successful. And in the economic side, especially, which I and Karl and several others are involved in, I think we have achieved maybe 85% of what we set out to do.
Okay, thank you, thank you, Secretary. Let me ask Secretary Karl about, well, one of the sectors that was that was hit very hard was the labor sector. No, a lot of people have lost their jobs. Although with the opening of the economy, we're slowly giving jobs back. How are we going to boost this in the next coming months until the end of the term of President Duterte?
Well, thank you for the question. Let me start with the picture before COVID. We achieved the lowest ever poverty rate, underemployment rate, meaning those with work but wants to have more income, and the lowest ever unemployment rate. So when we entered 2020, the conditions of the people have significantly improved. Now, what COVID-19 did and the pandemic is basically to prevent a big part of our economy from operating initially because we needed to save lives from COVID and spend time to boost our healthcare system. What we have noticed in the past few quarters is that so long as we can manage the risk and identify the highest risk and put the lockdowns or restrictions, we are able to open the rest of the economy safely so that the workers can go back. You know, in this COVID-19 pandemic, the worker skills are all there, the factories are there, the bridges, the roads, and the infrastructure are there. But because of our priority initially to save lives from COVID, we had to be more risk averse. But eventually, what the government did is really to gradually open up. And today, we are 2.2 million jobs more than when COVID happened. When before COVID happened. So we are continuously managing the risk, that is number one, so that the far majority of people can make a living, can also address their hunger or other sickness. Number two, we have a budget prepared to fight COVID. There are vaccination money there. There is a recovery. We passed and enacted the CREATE law, the FIS law. These are reforms that enable our recovery. So we are going to implement them. And finally is the vaccination. And without doubt, if we do these three recovery measures, we are going to be able to get our country back to pre-pandemic levels by next year.
Okay, thank you, Secretary Karl. Let me go back to Secretary Karl. What would the economic team, what would it have done, the whole team, no? What kind of changes would it have done to address or to maybe redirect our economy since 2016? The pandemic is quite new because none of us have experienced it ever not unless you were born in 1911 or 1917. So obviously this is a new experience for all of us. Ano po kayang pwedeng binago? Or meron pa kayong nakikitang dapat binago po natin dun sa ating approach?
Well, actually, an economy is like a body, okay? And if you want to be resilient to disease, you have to keep healthy, okay? You have to exercise. And that requires sacrifice, okay? So what we did from 2016 to 2019 is like exercising. We were able to increase our revenues. We were able to make the tax system more fair. We taxed cigarettes because that's bad for your health, okay? So we were in a good financial position. Of course, unfortunately, COVID hit. Now, because we were so healthy financially, it did not affect us like other countries, okay? Other countries were totally downgraded. There's one country that was their credit rating was A-. Now they're just BBB+. We have maintained our credit rating.
Although the outlook has become negative from stable po, Secretary.
No, there are two aspects to credit rating, okay? There is the credit rating and there is the outlook, okay? The credit rating has remained. the outlook has changed because of COVID. Okay, it's normal. Okay, so we still maintain a good credit rating, which means that we can borrow money at very good terms for us. So our children and grandchildren will not have to pay so high interest rates. Okay, so that's the first thing. So we were in a good financial position. Now, how about the future? Okay. We are now preparing, our department is now preparing our plans for the next administration to possibly adapt. And that will require certain measures, probably increase taxes, probably reduce some expenses that are unnecessary. But we are preparing that plan so that when we turn over to the next administration by June 30, 2022, there will be a good, solid, what they call a fiscal recovery plan. Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm going to address this next question to the both of you, no? Because it's just a matter of months before the president ends his term. So, buwan na lamang po ang binibilang natin at matatapos na nga po ang panunungkulan ni Pangulong Duterte. At, and it will also be an election year next year. Ano po kaya ang kailangan gawin ng pamahalaan at pwede pa pong magawa sa mga nalalabing buwan? So let me ask Secretary Karl first.
Well, sa economic agenda naman, nabanggit ng ating Pangulo kanina yung tatlong mahalagang economic liberalization bills. Ano po ito? Ito yung amendments sa Public Service Act, Retail Trade Liberalization Act, at yung Foreign Investment Act. You know, the Philippines, we have very good labor. And we can benefit from world-class capital, technology, innovation. So in the Public Service Act, it ushers a possibility that we have far better options for telecoms and transportation. You know, these two are very important to the ordinary lives of the people. The Retail Trade Liberalization Act, you know, when you go to the malls, you have options. If we have more open trade, in the retail sector, then when the ordinary Filipinos, they go to shop, they have more options. When you have more options kasi, the prices fall, the quality increase. And pangatlo, yung Foreign Investment Act. This is one way for us to attract more investment. And the idea here is to create jobs. Kasi sa dulo naman yung importante is yung dumami yung trabaho dahil sa pagpasok ng investment. So, yan yung sigurong from the economic and job creation aspect, yung pwedeng tutukan ng pansin sa huling buwan ng termino ni Pangulong Duterte.
Let me just veer away a little bit for Secretary Karl. Sabi po ng mga ilang observers na nag-underspend daw po ang gobyerno. Hindi daw po inubos yung pong budget para po dun sa, di ba, we heal as one act and we recover as one act. So ito yung dalawa pong bayanihan acts. Ano pong response ng pamahalaan dyan?
First of all, we did underspend. There's no question about it. But let's put it in perspective. The total underspending is around 6 billion pesos. Okay? Now, the total releases was 660 billion. So actually, we are underspending by 1%. It is not underspending by 10 or 12 or 50%. We underspent by 1%. Of course, that is not good. But you have to put it in perspective, okay? Now, we have gone to all the different departments and asked them what exactly is holding you back from this spending. And please, the money has been released to you, please spend it. Because it does not help anybody by keeping it in the bank. So essentially, we are going to solve this problem. But again, the problem is a 1% problem. I'm not denying that there is underspending, but it is underspending by 1%.
So in short, we're still pretty much, kung ano po yung plano natin.
You know, if your kid had a grade and came home
with a 99%,
and he said, I have a 99% grade, are you going to beat him up?
No.
Oh, exactly.
Okay. So with that, we'd like to say thank you for spending time with us tonight. It's been a long day. And We would like to thank our guests for joining us this evening. Of course, Secretary Carlo Dominguez, our Finance Secretary, and the Director General of NEDA, Secretary Karl Chua. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And sa ngalan po ng ating kasama dito na si Aljo Bendijo mula po dito sa Batasang Pambansa at ang lahat po ng bumubuo ng PTV. Ako po yung lingkod, Angelique Lazo, at mabuhay ang Pilipinas.